you also have to put yourself in passive opportunity. So last year I had attended a Tom Ferry summit, and I had a lot of people ask me, like, what in the world were you doing at a Tom Ferry summit that is meant for real estate agents when you run a social media company for loan officers? And it's because I have to dive into the trenches of what are the biggest pain points of the ideal clients of the people that I serve. And so I heard Phil speak, and I'm sitting there taking pages and pages of notes, and then naturally stalked him a bit on social media and then went right to the DMs, which took some courage. Like, I mean, I kind of thought, what's the worst that could happen? Like, it doesn't get read or it goes to his request because he's probably like, who is this person reaching out to me? And there's likely thousands that reach out to you all the time with all the stages that you're on. Or best case, what if he actually said yes? But I think part of the reason, and Phil, you can correct me if I'm wrong, is part of the positioning of even that conversation was because I could anchor in the fact that, every Friday we host a show. It's live in one of the largest mortgage coach communities, which just kind of, puts an exclamation point around the power of social media and really community. And when your motive is pure and you're truly trying to build a group that, every single Friday, which wasn't easy for you and, Dave to find guests to come on. And, some of the beginning videos, for those of you who watched, the internet wasn't always great or the sound wasn't great. But the point is you stuck with it and you made a commitment and you understood the long-term strategy. So we're not going to have a whole lot of time to go directly into, tips and tactics with social media. I am going to put a link in the chat for those of you who want to take a deeper dive. I'm willing to do a webinar next week for about an hour long to go deeper on those things. But I do want to give some practical advice of just, don't forget that social media is meant to be social. Like, it's not just a place for you to post and ghost and not interact with your audience. And so I want to give some tips that all of you could execute today, regardless if you have a graphic designer or a video editor, which, if you don't, just insert, plug and play us, and we'll be happy to help. But there's some things that you can do and be intentional of how can you grow your connections, that when you add your connections, then that creates more conversations. And as you have more conversations, that leads to more opportunities. So some of the things that you guys can all do literally in your morning poo session. And for some of you men, you could like double these numbers. And yes, I said your morning poo session, you could accomplish some of these things. I know Todd is like shaking his head, but some of you don't know that you can set up what's called a favorites feed on Instagram and Facebook. And, there's a max amount of connections that you can have in your favorites. Nobody knows, by the way, if they're in your favorites or not. And it's not like a group, but you can be really intentional with, how do I use social media for prospecting and nurturing and developing relationships, deepening relationships, and not just allow social to use you? And unfortunately, I feel like that's what a lot of people do, especially when we have discovery calls and people usually tell me, I don't have time, I don't know how, I don't know what. And all those things may be true, but then I go and we discuss kind of where are they spending their time, and this little device will actually tell you where you're spending your time. And ironically, for most people, one of the top 3 apps of where they spend most of their time every day is on social media. So I think we already know that social is important. I mean, largely due to where do humans spend most of their time and where is the human attention? And so how do we show up and be more human? I recently gave a presentation about ChatGPT, and it was a room full of real estate agents, and a lot of them were really nervous, like, is AI going to take over my job and blah, blah, blah. And for all of you listening, I would just say, if you're worried about AI or robots taking your job, then how about just be a better human? And so things that you can do every day is go to your favorites feed. Once you have that set up, people that you could put in there are who are already sending you business, like they're loyal to you, they're sending you business right now. Who are the people? And you can use tools like MMI to look at who are the buyers agents that are actually doing business in today's market that you would like to have a relationship with. Put them in your favorites feed. That way, when you go on social, you can sort your feed, and now you won't be distracted. You're being laser focused, super intentional of who I can interact with. Other people that you guys could include, and this is part of the daily commitments that, ironically, we created a win by noon version of incorporating these social media kind of daily commitments or standards, so to speak, where every day your goal should be, can I add 20 new accounts, 20 new people that I can choose to follow? So these are things that you are proactively going to do that, again, doesn't require any graphic design work, doesn't require social media strategy. But could you find 20 people every day that you could follow? Where are you going to find these people? Well, it could be listing agents on contracts. It could be divorce attorneys on divorce decrees that you get. Hell, it could be leads, guys. Like a lot of you are like, well, I don't know who to follow. What if instead of you just putting your leads in a CRM where you're letting spam like market people, what if you add them to your social and you just continue to engage with them on the single platform that is socially acceptable for you to be their biggest champion? So leads, hopefully every lead that you add to your social platform, then it makes it a lot easier for them during the process, where if you create these phenomenal experiences, which if any of you are following Phil, go ahead and make sure you're following Phil on social, and you'll see a lot of his marketing is his customers, his audience, because he creates these magical experiences that people rave about. And guess what? When you invite them along the journey with you, your future marketing department could literally be your clients. And just like the stats that Dave showed earlier, the fact that 30 million Gen Z buyers over the next 5 years, like some of you, like you have little influencers that you're doing loans for that their day job may be a loan officer, but you ask them to record a video, post it, tag you, and it's going to be like perfectly edited with the captions polished. And that's the best form of marketing, is having someone else brag about you. So make sure you have your favorites feed set up. Make sure you're following 20 accounts every day. Make sure you are liking 20 other posts each day. Make sure you are commenting on 20 posts. And then the triple whammy is the DMs. And I like to do this when people make story posts. Like Brian McCauley, actually just yesterday, he used social for social listening. So instead of just showing up and throwing up and posting and ghosting and literally not showing any love because you're making it all about me, instead, he utilized social stories. He asked a survey or a poll question where he's using it to collect information to then better serve his audience. What a brilliant concept. So all of you could participate in commenting on your own post, or maybe you see Dave or Todd make a post and you see what comments are going on in their own feed that then you're adding to the conversation. Perhaps you're in some of the Facebook groups that are just really the modern networking event, right? But you're being intentional and proactive with putting and adding value into those groups. Some other things that you could do that should be part of the standard is anytime you get new followers, can you like just pause and introduce yourself? And I'll end it with, because I know we're really short on time. When I have clients that tell me, oh, I've been posting, but I only have 20 new followers this week, I will usually ask them, well, how many followers did you create? How many likes did you give out? How many comments did you give out? So how dare you expect something in return that you're not willing to give times two? And then for those who worry about, I don't like the way that I look and I don't like the way that I sound, and I'm not, a Shayla Gifford or a Dan Keller who's super polished and like every word just seems to kind of flow. I always tell them, when you are doing that, you're making it about you. And that's just some tough love. So if you can write out the words ego and put a big X over E and just freaking go, like take some responsibility that Americans need your help. Y'all could be the local hero right now for these families who need a lifeline, guys. I don't give two shits if their current rate is 3%, like the chart we saw earlier. They have $2,000 a month that they're paying at 20%, and they need help right now. They don't know these things. So how dare you play small and be selfish, to be frank, of not sharing this truth that that could literally change a family's trajectory of their life? Like, why wouldn't you share that? How could you not feel guilty not sharing that information? If you need help with like the how-tos and the what's, attend the webinar. We'll put the link in the chat. But it's not surprising that people like Nicole, who said, I don't just help people grow wealth through real estate. Like, that's not my tagline. It's who I am. That is why it's not difficult for her to show up on social and record a video, because her motive is pure. She truly wants to help people. She's not attached to the outcome. She is sharing her truth. And if she has haters or people that say things that are nasty, it's like, Sometimes you got to let other people own their own problem in their own business, or allow that to be areas where you could improve. Like maybe they're right in some way, and it's scary to put yourself out there. But you know what? That's how you grow. And how else? You can't be the invisible LO anymore. That's just not going to work. Like, I don't know what's worse, being unknown or being broke. Because at least if you have an audience, you can sell something to them. So that's all that I got. That we could go a lot deeper in this. I hope for any of you who are struggling with social media, whether that's your CMOs who need kind of me to echo some of these best practices, you guys hit me up. Y'all know where to find me. It's not a secret. And just have a voice. You're not Ariel from The Little Mermaid. So don't play small. And if you don't know what to say, then maybe this is some accountability of like study your game, like practice your trade. Maybe you're not studying the market every single day. Maybe you're not increasing your social listening antenna so that you can actually create content that's valuable while also being focused on developing more connections, because we know the more connections you have lead to more conversations, and the more conversations you have lead to conversion. So be a human. That's your competitive advantage.